Yeah? I'm Peter van Taal, and I'm the director of the Global Partnership for the Prevention of Armed Conflict. One of the co-organizers of our meeting today, and frankly speaking, especially after the last panel, I feel a bit overwhelmed because I think, okay, what is there left to say for me at the end of this day with so much information, so rich in discussions. I think the first reflection is very simple, and that is that the whole day underlines how serious the impact is of extremist violence on people. Now let's start with the beginning. Max Bohn started out saying that he thought his presentation was a bit atypical. I didn't think it was. I think it fit perfectly in the day because this is the reality. And so the second observation is that terrorist violence equates us as human beings. You know, Pacho made an impressive appeal for human dignity in your speech, which I think many people feel for here. But that human dignity, when it comes to the impact of terrorist violence, is shared across the globe equally. Because Max Bohn was a Dutchman like myself. This is a coincidence, believe me. We haven't, wrote a script for this. And I also lived in Jakarta, actually, and saw the impact of the first Marriott bombs. So it doesn't matter if you're a Dutchman with on the way to a prosperous life, or a villager in a small village in Colombia or anywhere. I mean, it equates us as human beings, and I think that's an important observation because talking about human dignity, we're obviously often being divided. The other, I think, overwhelming impression of the day is that the counterterrorism frame, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work to help us to come to the causes of terrorism, because it obscures us to look at causes. It doesn't work in order to help us to fight terrorism. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It gives ample opportunity for abuse. We have heard many examples of that today. So it doesn't work. The third observation for me is on the role of civil society, because today was predominantly, we heard from many civil society friends. What do they do? Well, they work with victims, or are trying to pick victims associations. They're trying to change the frame. We had, especially in the panel on the Middle East, reference to the work with young people, trying to look at it in prevent people from radicalizing, so to say. I think that's all useful, but I think Raya was asking a few pertinent questions in the last panel. Are we as civil society also not, too much inclined to go into the comfort zone and do what we like to do and sit in workshops and seminars, and is that effective enough? I think that's a valuable point to take from this day. Very valuable. Last but not least, there was also attempts, and here I'm very grateful to Gabriel from Human Rights First to make the point, well, let's look at another frame then. Or let's make use of frames that are out there that can be helpful. And I won't repeat that argument, but I mean, that's, I think, is useful. For me, that is one way to go also after this seminar, but I think that is beyond the question of the legal framework only. That has a very important, if you wish, institutional component as well. In many countries, for example, there's a continuous blurring going on between the role of the police and the military. I think that's an equally important issue that needs to be resolved. which fits in, into this question, which is like, in which legal framework do you capture it? But we all know how some military, like in my own country, are the Dutch military is really not able anymore to fight a war against another state. I can tell you, it's a public secret. But at the same time, we see some of the SWAT teams that are created in the police, they very much look like special forces in the military. And how does that work? And how do we control that as citizens? And so there's a whole area to think about how, at the end of the day, the use of force should be organized from a public point of view, within a proper framework, of course, a legal framework. But that's also a question of the organization of the state, and I think it's about time that we think a little bit more about that, because it's equally problematic how, in today's world, the fight against terrorism is, cloaked in this atmosphere of secrecy and suspicion and special operations and all that crap, excuse my language, at the end of the day. And that, to me, is perhaps the most important contribution of today. The fight against terrorism is very important. It is our fight, and it needs to be put in the public domain here for normal people to relate to, because that's how important combating violence is for everyone in a local community and for everyone who tries to organize him or herself in a civil society organization. That said, I want to thank all the panelists today. I think we're an extremely rich day. I want to thank Jenny Chapman for facilitating this day. Let's give her a hand. And I want to thank all the people who helped behind the scenes in the organization. Some of them, they are usually in the back at this time of the day. Christine, of course, from Woodhall, Philco, Bibi, who has been very helpful, and Gabriella for creating the community on the Peace Portal. So thank you very much for coming here today, and many of you staying the whole day. And we will, in any case, from our side, continue this discussion. Thank you very much.